Good evening. I am Tony Dattino. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship and the president of Dattino Consulting Group. And I'm doing my Wednesday evening Live with Tony broadcast. So I've been focusing on a whole variety of things, all coming back to the things that are important to our brain health and our physical well-being, and how we are building relationships that have trust and confidence and connective during these really difficult times, but during any time. I mean, even as you think about some of the lessons that I've been sharing with my Life with Tony audience, my goal is to share things that are impactful to people in their lives, period, whether we are in COVID-19 or not, skills and techniques that are used forever. So here we go. I'm always reading. I think any of my audience members know by now I am reading and reading all the time different science things. So I'm reading out of a Mind, Mood, Memory article on Mindset Matters, and it's what's driving you in a conversation. So here's the article and I'm pulling, what's really driving you in a conversation? And I found this to be really interesting, and I want to tie it back to what's in our Maximum Memory Mastery online course that we actually put into the bonus section. And I'm working with Michael Dattino, who's put the memory course online, and I'm trying to get him to, not trying, we're working out and putting some changes in it that will bring a module that's in the bonus section called Brain to Brain Communications, and we'll pull that up in front because of its impact on people's lives. And the whole Maximum Memory Mastery online is really all about your brain health, and it's a much broader skill set than just memory practices and techniques, though it has a core of it is about how to improve our memory, but there's so much in it that goes beyond it, and this is one of the things that I was thinking about. So what drives you in a conversation? We're trying to elicit, when we're having a conversation with anybody, maybe it's with our kids, our spouse, maybe we're at work having a conversation with a client, with a prospect, maybe with our boss. In any conversation that we're part of, what we want to be able to know is that we're having an impact, that we're being heard, we're generating some thoughts in people's minds as a result of our dialogue, and that it means something to us, because if we're not making a connection in what we're saying to somebody, what we start to feel is this level of either loneliness or a bit of stress, and maybe after a while in a relationship you build an anxiety and don't even know how you're going to start a conversation, how you may finish a conversation. And so it's important for us to become aware of the different things going on in ourselves and the impact that we're having in a conversation with a group of people or with individuals. And so one of the things that we always want to know is, are we getting a response mentally and then verbally from a person, or from what we can observe and see in their body language? Are we having an impact as a result of whatever it is that we're saying? Now, I'm making a hypothesis here that we're having a conversation where we have an intention in the conversation to where we want it to be followed by an action of some sort. And so in that regard, we're experiencing human interaction, and we're building relationships, we're building trust and confidence in the relationship, and we're building a bond and a connection that makes us feel that we're part of a world bigger than within ourselves. And so how do we experience that connection? Through the conversations we have, through the communications we have. Maybe it's an email, maybe it's a text message. So we have a whole variety of ways that we're building these connections that we want to have with people, so we don't feel isolated or lonely, because in my broadcast I've been doing over the last month, the science just keeps coming back and telling us over and over again of what's happening to us when we feel isolated, alone, and no worse than during the times where we're being quarantined or we're being asked to stay away from people. And you just observe as I sit out on our front porch in the evening, or if I drive to go pick up some of our groceries or food items in a takeout, just watching the way people are interacting, and or in many cases that walk away from people. So we're losing some of that connection that is so important to us. So what's really driving you in conversation really is, how are we making connection? So I just want to read this one paragraph. In our interaction, there's nothing to affirm the fact that you're being listened to, and it often feels that you might be speaking to no one. So we're looking for an affirmation in a conversation we have with anyone, that whatever it is that you're saying or speaking about, it has some level of influence, or it has some level of being meaningful. I mean, otherwise we just go look in the mirror and just talk for hours and feel, okay, we just had a conversation with an image that happened to be in a mirror, and we'd walk away from that feeling good about it. But that's really not who we are as humans. So the challenge becomes, how do we have a brain-to-brain conversation to where we know we're making a difference? And so one of the things that we're looking for is, as we communicate with people, what thoughts do we generate that we can grab onto in the conversation that just makes it worthwhile, and makes it like, wow, this is a good conversation. I've learned something that may make a difference, or I've shared something. I love to teach, so I love to be an educator, and I love to teach people things that can make a difference in their lives. So what I'm always looking for is, as a result of any conversations that I have with people, I want to know that it's made a difference. I want to know that somewhere in the dialogue, I've struck somebody's thinking, and then if I want to call them to action, I want to also cut to, what can I touch in their emotion? Is there some level of excitement, enthusiasm, passion, a level of trust that I can build into the dialogue, where they can feel that, this was worthwhile. This was a good conversation. I learned something. I can act on that, and I'll be better for it. And this article I was reading, what really drives you in a conversation, really is saying, what are the responses that we try to get in conversations? And we all long, I believe this, and this goes to confirm it, at least from somebody else's point of view, we want to be heard, and we want it to be profound in some level. What I've already said, we want to make a difference. And when we walk away from a conversation and we don't feel that we've made that difference, is where we build a level of loneliness and isolation. So what do we have in the online course is a really a module that we pulled in there as a result of some Live with Tonys that I was doing a while back. When you're talking to someone and you're finished with a sentence or two, you may pause and just ask the person, so what thoughts do you get from that? So I was reading an article at dinner this evening, and it was on some of the science on aerosol droplets of COVID, and aerosol droplets spread, and how many are there, and how long does it take before they drop to the ground, and where do you pick these things up, and can you get them outside or do you get them inside? And so as I was reading just a couple of paragraphs of this article with my other half, I just said to her, so what thoughts do you get from this? And her first quick response was, it may be safer to fly on an airplane than we thought, because they have these ventilation systems that are pulling the air and bringing in fresh air from the outside that comes filtered through, and their filtering systems are better off. And so maybe, my fear of, this is her saying now, my fear of flying may not be real based on what you're sharing with me from this science article that you were quoting from. Interesting thought about getting on planes versus now restaurants. Now you're going to go to a restaurant and say, hey, before you're going to go inside of a restaurant, now if you're eating outside, you're okay, but if you're in the Northeast, it's starting to get a little bit cooler. So if you're eating outside, better have your winter jackets on, or otherwise, if you're going inside, one of the questions you might want to ask, which gets crazy, is what's the filtering system you've got here, and what do you do with that? So those are some thoughts that you can generate, and you get just from talking about a conversation about COVID aerosol droplets. A meaningful conversation that generated some thoughts and a dialogue that builds in the love and the care that you have for the people that are important to you, and for the relationships that you're trying to build with your company, with your clients, customers, with your boss, with your peers, with your kids. And that is my message for the evening. I just wanted to grab a little bit of a nugget on that. I may pick up another piece of this on my broadcast tomorrow afternoon. But tonight, it's Wednesday evening. Have a pleasant evening. And we'll see you tomorrow. And anybody wants to pick this up on a personal level, send me an email at adottino@aol.com. And we'll have a conversation to see if we can have some thoughts that we can exchange and make a difference in your life. Have a good evening.